Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning into another Supatease video. 10.1.5 is live, and this class is absolutely taking over more than any class I've seen in the game in its entirety. I've been seeing Mythic Plus players speaking of this specialization as it is starting to be represented in pretty much every single scenario, and that is the Augmentation Evoker. This specialization is very powerful, super potent, provides a ton of utility and a truck ton of damage to every team that it has been contributed into, and is really starting to define the meta. So if you haven't picked up an Augmentation Evoker yourself or partnered up with one at this point, you're definitely missing out on a lot of power. Now, in PvP specifically, I got to try the Holy Paladin Preservation Evoker in a balanced Druid composition, which may just in fact be one of the best combinations of classes currently available. Holy Paladin's throughput is through the roof. It is basically impossible to run out of mana on this class, and balanced Druid now with some buffs to New Moon, Half Moon, and Full Moon, with a staggeringly high amount of overall achievable DPS, and powerful spells like Cyclone to stall the match enable compositions like this to basically be able to run any other opponent out of mana and out of steam. Now, Augmentation Evoker is going to play very similar in PvP to a tank specialization, and that is because it is highly durable with a ton of utility for its team. So its main focus is utilizing that utility, keeping its team alive, and supporting its DPS until the enemies have run out of mana and run out of abilities to basically fight back. So that is going to be the main focus of the game. Here I'm trying to find my Wyrmstone in my inventory, which is another tool which they can give to a DPS or a healer. I didn't happen to get one this game, so now we're going to have to start the fight. And while being even on my mount for 15 seconds doing nothing, searching my inventory, we are still taking pretty much 0 damage. Now we're going to start this fight with a Cyclone onto the Demon Hunter. We're just trying to stagger and slow down the damage and connection of both melee DPS. Balanced Druid and Augmentation together are a gnarly combo. This is a team that we just fought, and now they're desperate to try and figure out how to beat us because it was basically impossible for them. So they started to run down our Holy Paladin as if that was really going to work. This composition is really powerful. So we've shot out our Incarnation, we forced Ironbark onto the Retribution Paladin, and now we're looking to try and get back to our Paladin as soon as possible. We're going to wild charge over. Positioning is a little bit off. You do want your healer to be bringing the enemy melee out into the open, so this way you can free cast damage onto them and Cyclones onto them and take advantage of their positioning here. But they ended up retreating around the pillar, and we were able to chase them down and try and get some casted spells out, start generating our holy power, start utilizing our mobility to get some distance. Here we're going to use our bark skin before casting clone, because if we get kicked while it's already up, we can still have its added defense. We can sit through the interrupt comfortably and not worry about it too much. Here they're really respecting our damage, the dropping darkness and the Ret Paladin's trinket already. So we're just going to clone the Demon Hunter, deny their connection, and you can see that we're pretty much just impervious. We're just focused on keeping up dots and just surviving as long as possible. I would say that a lot of the tools of the Augmentation Evoker actually feel like a Warlords of Draenor Brewmaster monk, with things like Guard, when you can put a giant shield on somebody and keep them alive, and Boomkin Brewmaster in that season when those mechanics existed was also very powerful and potent. So here we're going to use Thorns. This paired with Blistering Scales is just an omega don't touch me moment for melee DPS. Like, Blistering Scales plus Thorns together is the most gnarly amount of reflected damage you will ever see on melee DPS, which is another contribution to why I think this composition is so strong. We get a Cyclone onto the Druid as they're running in to try and heal their teammates behind the pillar, and now that we've got some distance, we can go for our Moon spells. Half Moon doing a chunky 150,000 non-crit, New Moon, Half Moon, Full Moon. These are scary spells. We've got the Druid out in the open, so we're just going to immediately switch over to the Druid, start scaring them, forcing the DPS to come back and assist. So they come back, they deny my Full Moon. If they didn't do that, Druid might have died, but if they did, now they're back in the open and we can freely attack them. I'm just chasing the Druid around the corner, trying to interrupt their cast, keep the pressure onto them. This is a strategy just against Resto Druid in general that's a really good idea. This way you're forcing them to move their HOTS onto multiple targets. The Druid decides to charge towards us and bash, so I'm telling my teammates, hey, Druid's probably going to Cyclone me. Most Druids want to bash and a clone. This, if you communicate this to your teammates, then they can interrupt it. And look, now I'm not Cycloned, I'm a happy camper and not sitting in any crowd control. We can move forward to the DPS, get our dots up, lob our Star Surges, start getting our Moonkin Aura stacks back here because they were about to fall off, and then we can try and Cyclone targets low and deny their defenses, much like the Ironbark Park in this case. And we're just continuing to pull the melee DPS around the map. You can see this composition with Augmentation Evoker is a little bit more slow paced. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the pace of this composition or the compositions this class is involved with, but the mechanics that they have been mechanics that are historically powerful, and you're going to see a lot of teams and a lot of players adopt currently. Now we've got Thorns, we've got Blistering Scales up onto our Holy Paladin, and both these melee DPS are continuing to ram themselves into that, and it's generally not a good idea. They're going to start taking a lot of damage as a result. We get Blinding Lighted as our Paladin's pulling away, so we get kind of taken out of the fight quite a bit, honestly, in this match. We're moving towards the Druid. We don't want to let him Cyclone me, so we're moving in. We're going to bash the Druid, keep our dots up there. Again, attacking 3 targets against the Druid is a really good idea. Could have also gone for a Cyclone on the Druid at this point to try and deny their recovery before switching back to the DPS that are now going to be in a little bit more of a favorable position, and this would just put the Druid behind. But you can see that it's basically impossible to run out of mana. Even at this point, the Paladin can activate, I believe it's Daybreak in 10.1.5, and just begin regenerating all the mana that they've lost, which is going to really be why Holy Paladin, coupled with these classes, is going to be so powerful. It's just infinite resources, limitless options. The other teams will eventually run out of steam while you're taking control of them, keeping your dots up, and doing a lot of damage. Now, mechanically, because these classes are so good across the board in the game as a whole, I'm expecting that they're going to get nerfed. I feel like this isn't just only a PvP issue or even only a Mythic Plus issue. It seems like a game as a whole. So if you want to take advantage of this, I would probably say it's probably a good idea to take advantage as soon as possible. Again, who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't get nerfed, but it is just staggeringly powerful. Here we've got Incarnation up. We can go for a Full Moon. We just proc Precognition, and Full Moon absolutely smacks. We just burst his Ret Paladin down to 10%, almost kill him, force the Druid to panic Tranquility. Incarnation Full Moon is going to be the moment where you feel the most powerful. And with Ebb and Might up, you can see my Star Surge is hitting for like 130k. We're doing a lot of DPS, about 50k at this point. We're starting to really ramp up. We Solar Beam the Druid on their clone, and then we get a Cyclone onto the Solar Beam. We're just going to attack the Ret Paladin, who is in the middle of the map. This is something I see a lot of new players to PvP, is they tunnel vision a target when it goes behind the pillar and they chase it. Don't do that. Just attack whatever's in the open. If the Demon Hunter's gone out of your line of sight, just hit the Paladin, chill, everything will be okay, and you're still going to be able to find victory. Don't tunnel vision a target that's making it impossible to hit them. Just attack whatever is presenting itself and giving you the best opportunity. That's going to really enable you to have a lot of success, just in PvP in general, let alone with these types of compositions. But you can see that this is going to play a lot like a tank spec, just a really good one, that is really going to enable you a lot of success. I think it's going to make it be a lot more new player friendly as well, because it is so tanky and has so many options. Utilizing Verdant Embrace, utilizing the Blistering Scales for shields and heals and support to its allies, while buffing up the damage of its partner. Now, as to what composition is going to be the absolute best, I have been kind of debating. I think Moonkin Augmentation is in that role, but I could see other classes, potentially things like Death Knights that do a lot of damage overall but need a little bit extra defense bolstered up, that can group allies together to get them stunned down and do massive amounts of damage. So definitely experiment with this class, but I just want to let you guys know, update you on what's going on right now at 10.1.5 as far as the meta. If you want to make sure that you're staying up to date always, smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one.